Hi, this is Yaffi with Baby Bloom Nutrition, and I'm live on Facebook, just waiting for some people to come join me. I'll give a short introduction. I started Baby Bloom Nutrition, and due to my own struggles with lots of things since my boys were born. I have twin boys who turned 3 a couple days ago, and we had troubles with breastfeeding. Obviously, I had a multiple gestation pregnancy, so there were issues dealing with that and getting adequate nutrition. Then the breastfeeding, colic, fussiness, tongue tie, adenoid issues, food introduction issues, allergies and sensitivities, and I'm using all of that to my benefit to start Baby Bloom Nutrition and to help other moms with the same trouble. So today we're talking about keeping our sanity as moms by using meal planning. And so a few reasons why you should meal plan. Brain space. You ever just stare at the fridge or stare at your cabinet and you just sit there and stare, what am I going to make today? And it's really frustrating, and it's 5 o'clock and your kids are getting hungry and they're impatient because it's a rough time of day anyway. They're throwing tantrums and you have no idea what you're going to make. Well, meal planning really eliminates the time staring into the fridge and also helps to eliminate the trouble that you get when the kids are acting that way, because you can spend time with them instead of spending time staring at your fridge. So that helps to maintain your sanity as a mom. You can increase your health by planning all meal components. You know, sometimes you think, well, I put the grilled chicken up, but you missed a vegetable or you missed some other side dish. And by meal planning, you can really think about all that ahead of time and know that you're creating a healthy meal with ingredients that you already have in the house. You can decrease your cost by a couple of different ways. One is that when you go to the grocery store, you have a solid list. You know you're getting everything you need for the week, and you don't sit there thinking, what else might I want? What else might I need this week? And get some things that you don't actually need. So you get to save money that way. But also you're going to decrease your waste by planning ahead. You're going to plan to have a leftover night, and hopefully after you get in the swing of things and you get used to it, you'll be able to plan how much your family does eat and adjust your leftovers to be appropriate. Less waiting for the kids, I already covered that. Less time in the kitchen. When you get into meal prepping also, you're going to have less time because you can just throw ingredients together that you've already prepped, and it really cuts down on your time. Fewer dishes to clean when you do meal prepping as well, because ideally you take one day out of the week and you chop your vegetables, and if you're making roast chicken, for example, you're going to put all your ingredients in a bag and you can stick that in the freezer. That's one of the really common methods to food planning. And that means that when you're doing all that in one day, you're going to have fewer dishes throughout the week in order to clean. You're going to have fewer cutting boards to clean. And I don't know about you, but I go crazy when the sink is full of dishes. And that's a really great benefit for me. You have an opportunity to involve your family. You can ask your spouse, what do you like to eat? What do you want to see on the list this week? And you're sitting there with your list, and you're making your list. That's my list for the week. And you can ask, what do you want to see on the menu this week? And with your kids, you can sit down with food magazines. I wouldn't suggest Pinterest because that's just a black hole. I love Pinterest, but not with my kids. And you can look at cookbooks. You can even watch cooking shows if you want some real downtime, and talk about what you can make together and what they would like to see on the menu. And that's a fun way to introduce them to some new stuff and to get them involved in the kitchen. I don't have any questions yet, but feel free to comment and I'll try to get to the questions as they come up. This is my first time really doing this. So, your steps. How do you start? The first step is to clean out your pantry. Know what you have going on. And I was supposed to have a visual aid, but it's in the kitchen. Today, I went through my pantry and I had 3 half-full bags of lentils. Well, I don't need 3 full bags of lentils or 3 half-full. I need 1 bag of lentils. And when you go through your pantry, you're going to see you have duplicates of different things because you just don't remember what you have. Thanks, Christina, for joining us. Hi. So when you meal plan, you can really plan based around what's in your pantry. So the first step is to go through and organize and write down what you have, and then try to plan meals around what you already have in your pantry. That's also going to save you some money as well. Number 2, make a list of family favorites. So it's good to have that on hand because you don't want you don't want to sit down with your menu with nothing in your head. You know, I have my lists. I have family favorites. I have cheap meals. I have things that are good for the end of the week, which might utilize frozen vegetables more than fresh, so that I can really cut down on going to the store multiple times. You want to use your calendar. You want to look at your calendar and say, okay, we have swim lessons this afternoon, so I need something to be ready when we come home. And maybe that day you want to use the crock pot, or you want to use something that is just really quick and easy to heat up because you're not going to have time in the kitchen to throw something together. So plan meals according to your schedule. You want to consider health goals. You want to consider cost, the mess of cooking. I mean, if you have, let's say you're lucky enough to have someone else come clean your house. Are you going to make a big mess right before or right after? So you want to consider that. You know, is this your cleaning day? Do you want to have a big mess to clean up, or do you want to maybe keep it clean for a couple days or a couple hours, as it may be if you have toddlers? Think about the amount of time that you have to spend. How much time do you have to spend in your kitchen on any given day? And organize your recipes around that. And the ease of the recipe. Are you going to have a particularly difficult day? And sometimes you can't really predict that, so you want to have something that's available that you can just throw on your George Foreman or throw in your oven. You know, like your easy pastas, or I really like the Dr. Prager's fish fillets to just throw on my George Foreman and have some like, I like to call it a crunch bowl for my boys. It's just a bowl of sliced peppers and carrots and celery, and we make some kind of dip or something. But that's easy. If I have a really rough day and I feel brain dead by the time dinner comes around, I might go off menu and do just the backup meal, and it's good to have that. You want to make sure that each meal has a protein, a vegetable, and a healthy fat. And ideally, your plate is made up half of vegetables. Sorry. Now I'm all off track. You want your plate to be half vegetables. I'm not talking about corn or potatoes. Those things are starchy vegetables, and they do have their benefit, but they don't count as your vegetable. You can plan all your meals and snacks, or you can just plan dinner, whatever works for you. You can start off with one method and switch to another. There are a lot of different tips that are available on my Pinterest. I have a meal planning board with a lot of different ideas, and I will flash this again because I know this is important. Pinterest.com/Yaffi. You want to keep amounts in mind. One of the major downfalls to when you start meal planning is that you don't know how much your family is going to need. So if you plan a different meal for every night, then you run the risk of having a ton of leftovers at the end. And the bad news with that is that sometimes you can't refreeze things, or sometimes they start to go bad. So you have to either go off menu and risk some of your ingredients going bad, or you have to try to incorporate them to other meals that maybe you didn't account for. So you'll get used to that as you start. I like to have a leftover night just for, just in case. And if I don't have enough leftovers to make a whole meal, then I go to my backup meal. Prep. Think about what you can prep ahead of time and try to do it. What you can do is take your menu and highlight things that can be prepped ahead of time. So for instance, my boys like pancakes in the morning sometimes, but I don't have to make the pancake batter in the morning. I could make it the night before. And really, I don't want to make it in the morning because they just want the pancakes. Also, what I really like to do is make quinoa porridge in the morning. And you just take pre-cooked quinoa and put in some kind of stewed fruit like apples or peaches, and you can serve that with some Greek yogurt. But you can make the quinoa ahead of time. There's no reason to be cooking quinoa on the stovetop at 7 in the morning when you haven't even had your coffee or your yoga, whatever gets you going. So, any questions? Someone throw me a question. No? Okay. Tips. So when you start, you're going to find your own way. There are so many different methods, but to keep to one shopping trip, you want to have your meals completely prepared ahead of time as far as your menu. And you might want to start the week with fresh vegetables and move to frozen. That way as I mentioned, the vegetables don't go bad. And use the freezer. You want to make a double batch of stuff and feed your freezer so that at any given time you have a good meal that you can just put in your crock pot or put in your oven. You want to use the freezer for anything that might go bad in your fridge. And you don't want to overstock your fridge, because then it gets frustrating when you're looking for something and it's obscured by other items and you have to unload your entire fridge to find something. It's very frustrating, and that's what we're trying to avoid. You want to add a new recipe each week and then try to keep them organized. I have a folder that I just have all my recipes in, and that's not ideal because really they should be organized as far as main dishes, side dishes, but I like to write notes on it. This was too lemony, this was too salty, so that the next time I can really tailor it to my family's tastes. You want to involve the family in the menu planning. As I mentioned, it's a lot of fun. It gets the kids involved in something that you have to do anyway. Theme nights are fun. So, hey, Alina, theme nights are fun. So if you have like a Mexican night or a pasta night or whatever, you can change up the recipes each week, but that at least gives you some kind of guideline to actually start. And it's easier to plan that way. Consider the weather, the cost, and your schedule. I talked about schedule a lot. I think it's really important. I think it's really important to keep in mind what your schedule is, because I have planned nights that were just on the wrong day entirely, and it just doesn't work out well, and it makes me crazy, and I end up going to my backup meal. Check with what's on sale, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is to cut down on your costs, and one is for inspiration, because maybe there's an ingredient that's for sale in your area that you haven't thought about using. Plan for leftovers, as I talked about. You really do want to plan for leftovers, because when you sit down and plan an entire week's worth of meals, you're going to have leftovers. It's really difficult to decide ahead of time exactly how much everyone's going to eat, especially if you have toddlers. Make a double batch and freeze for later, because you never know. And you might have a friend who just had a baby and you can just pull something out of the freezer and go drop that off. So that's nice. So that's all I prepared. I was hoping someone would have some questions for me or some conversation. Is anyone who is paying attention, does anyone do meal planning already? I think we have 2 people. Okay, well, this is going to be on my Facebook for a while, and hopefully I'll get a little more interaction. I'm planning on doing nap time nutrition every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which right now is 4 p.m. Eastern, but it changes because we don't change the clocks in Arizona. So when the rest of you change clocks, we are different time difference. So come join me at babybloomnutrition.com, on Facebook at babybloomnutrition, definitely Pinterest /Yaffi, and I hope to hear from you soon.